Okay, so in today's video we're going to take a look at what the video game industry does for audiences, and we're also going to have a look at game types at the same time as well. So to start off with then, we're going to refresh our memory on Bloomler and Katz and have a look at those gratifications. Video games are kind of unique because predominantly they're there to provide us with entertainment, but they also act as a way of informing and educating people through educational games and, well, yeah, just that really, through educational games, but also games that perhaps teach us a little bit about other cultures. So, for example, we've got the Brain Training Academy here. I didn't realise I was adding in examples at the same time. High production values, as always. We can relate to characters and situations in their day-to-day life as well. So a great example of this would be The Sims, where it's designed to represent a sort of version of real life. But it can also allow us to escape from our day-to-day life by playing things like, for example, Skyrim, which is massive open plan, or what's it called? Open world? You can tell that I am an expert in this field. Open world game where you can literally be whoever you want and it is nothing like real life at all. Or as a social talking point through games such as Fortnite. Now, Pokemon Go specifically is a game that uses a new technology called augmented reality, and that's one of the reasons why they picked it for your GCSEs, because it kind of was, even if you even if you don't like it, you don't play it, it really was quite groundbreaking in terms of the augmented reality feature that it used. So what augmented reality does is it merges the real world and the virtual world. So in sort of the game, you can see it where you've got the sort of real world maps being used as your gameplay, so you can have your camera function on and you can see the Pokemon in that natural setting wherever it is that you are, and that not only allows the game to be more personal, but it also means that you can share those pictures with your friends and further that social talking point. So some of the advantages to this were, as we've said, it makes the experience more personal. It also creates a unique experience because what you do in your game and where you are is going to be completely different to somebody in a different location playing the same game. And it emphasises important locations, which means that it uses a lot of synergy quite naturally, so it can promote very small businesses. And obviously creates this social talking point through shared experiences, by providing this sort of relatability, because we know where we are, we can see our location on the map and it's all familiar to us. However, it does come with disadvantages, so it can exploit locations. Big companies like McDonald's pay an awful lot for them to be featured as Pokestops. Now that sort of takes away from the point of the game. If the idea is to get people out and about and being fitter and healthier, don't necessarily have a major location at a fast food restaurant. It also means that you can unknowingly give out personal information, because if you're taking pictures of your local area and sending those to friends, then you're sharing where you are. The locations that Pokemon used initially were created based on a just sort of like an algorithm or some sort of formula, and it didn't take into account what was actually underneath that sort of map. So one of the well-known controversies, or one of the controversies that I found before I started teaching this, was that a Pokemon called Coughing, for those of you who are familiar with Pokemon, you'll know who Coughing is. For those of you who don't, it's basically a poison gas Pokemon, was found at a Holocaust museum. So the locations can be incredibly inappropriate if you've not got any physical human being checking what's underneath that mapping. It uses a lot of battery power, and the hardware needs to be able to keep up with the gameplay experience, which is not always the case when new technology is released. Now, one of the questions that you could be asked in the exam is to name other augmented reality games. So here are a few that might be worthwhile looking at. Ingress, obviously Pokemon Go is the one that you guys are studying. R, Temple Treasure Hunt, Sharks in the Park, Dark, Subject 1, Zombies Running. Geocaching is not a game in itself, but it is a technology that uses sort of augmented reality, and I believe there's a Harry Potter game out now that uses it as well. But yeah, one of the games that I would, if you get a question like that, one of the games that I would always mention is Ingress. The reason that I'd always mention that is because although Pokemon Go was sort of groundbreaking in that it was the first time we'd seen augmented reality as a sort of general population. Actually, it wasn't the first game to use augmented reality. Ingress came before Pokemon Go. It's made by the same company, Niantic, and without Ingress, Pokemon Go wouldn't have existed, because the same mapping system used in Ingress was literally taken and just translated into Pokemon Go. So I'd always mention that one if you have a question like this come up on your exams. Now, Pokemon Go's obviously got a lot of competition from other free-to-play games. Because it's an app and it's downloadable, it needs to be something that's competitive. So some of the ways that it stays on top of the trend is by providing regular updates. So we started off with the original 151. Adding in new generations means that the game becomes more popular and starts to keep that longevity going because you've got more Pokemon to collect. It also appealed to a really large demographic, and we'll go into the demographic separately in a different video because they're equally as important. It had a PEGI 3 rating, so it was reasonably playable for most people, you know, regardless of age. And it had very limited content descriptors, so the only content descriptor that I could find was a sort of in-app purchase warning and the fact that it required a sort of an online connection. Other than that, it's not got a lot of violence or anything like that on there as well, so it promotes kind of this family-friendly ideology. Hopefully this helped. They've not got a lot of key terms for you guys today, not a lot for us to go through, so hopefully this is a pretty straightforward video. If you would like more information, you can get in touch with me through Twitter at media_revision, or you can pop a comment down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Please subscribe, hit the button below, and the little bell icon next to it will give you notifications every time I post a new video. See you guys later for the next video.